Good morning, everybody. This is the long awaited recipe that I had for you last week. Wasn't feeling very good. Still a little tired, still running a little ragged, but I didn't want to wait much longer. I'm happy to share this with you. And what I did was in the description, I already put it there for you guys to have, is going to be the video that I'm going to share with you, because you may like this guy's version of this chicken recipe. However, I put my version in with the instructions in it as well, because I kind of changed mine up a little. We'll talk about it after we play the video. There are a lot of things that I want to talk with you about first before we go into it. And one of them is there is a lot of stuff going on in our world right now. I got to tell you, the Trump administration is doing an incredible job. And probably more than you're hearing from your local news and even from any cable news network that you might be watching, including Fox or even News Nation, Newsmax. I think that they're just told that they can only do snippets of each story. Sometimes you really just have to kind of look at what's really going on. And for some of us, it takes a little bit of time to read into it. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as I'm feeling better, I'm going to have a Twitter show. Now, I know it's called X, but it's just difficult for me to call it X. So X, Twitter, what I mean by that is I am constantly updating my Twitter page on both the magazine and the music. And it's constant. It's all day and all night sometimes. And so, because that's how often things are changing and things are happening. And so what I'm going to do is, like I share screens with you, for example, today when we're going to watch this chef from Long Island make this chicken recipe, I'm also going to share with you my Twitter feed on one of either the magazine or the music page. Doesn't matter, they both have the same information. And we're going to go over the main stories on there just to update you on what's going on and to give you some encouragement that God is winning. God is winning big time. And before the major hit happens, which could be at any moment, at least you won't be in shock when it does. I don't know how that's going to happen. I wish I could tell you, but I just know it's going to happen. One of the most amazing things, as I said to you, I wanted to share a few things with you that I had seen last week, was about 6 days ago, they had put on YouTube that they found evidence under the Red Sea. These were divers found at the bottom of the Red Sea, evidence of Pharaoh's army. And if you remember in the Bible, it talked about Pharaoh's army being drowned in the Red Sea. We've talked about this many times on this channel. And I think the reason why God allowed that to be shown to the world now is to show there's only so long he's going to give mercy and grace before he strikes. He's given warning after warning. As far as I know, I could say at least for the past 10 years, that's all I've seen is warnings. Prophets have given warnings. Pastors have given warnings. Just regular everyday Christians like me have given warnings. And a lot of people have not listened. And that's in the church and out of the church. Okay. It's not just the world. It's not just the wicked. There are a lot of people in the church who have not paid attention. They will now. And so I feel like that was from God, was a warning shot. This is what I did to Pharaoh's army. This is what I'm about to do to the wicked. So this is the time to get into repentance and humble yourself before God. Don't tell me that you don't sin. I don't want to hear about that. Everybody sins. We have a sinful nature. It doesn't matter if you're saved. You have to maintain your salvation. Don't worry. Don't get prideful and arrogant and think that because you said one prayer at one time, that's all it took. You have to walk the walk. And this is part of walking with the Lord. Okay, maintaining. So stay in a humble stance. Keep your heart pure. Try to live holy. Be in repentance. Make sure that you're saved. And you will be on the right side of all of this. These are all the things that you just need to do. Otherwise, you will find yourself on the other side, the opposite side of God, and that's not going to work well for anybody who's on that side. So take that any way you want. It's the truth. But as I said, they found evidence of Pharaoh's army at the bottom of the Red Sea. So I really believe that came out 6 days ago for a good reason. Could have came out a year ago. Why 6 days ago? Why? Because this is the season to make things right with God and to get it together. Okay? Why do we repent? Yeah, we probably do live holy lives. We probably do live good lives better than we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. True. The reason for doing it is because we're making sure that we're right with God. It's not about worrying about what we did yesterday, what we said today, or it has nothing. I'm not asking you to self-examine. I'm asking you to just repent, because it's just making sure that you are right with God. It's just, I don't even know how to explain it. Give me the words, Lord, because I'm very tired. If you want to make sure you're right with God, this shouldn't even be an issue. Just do it. Just do it. It just makes sure, it ensures that you are in the right position. It's insurance. Do you understand? When you pay your car insurance, you're not paying it with the thought that you're going to go out and have a car accident today. You're just paying the insurance. So repenting, thank you, Lord. The Holy Ghost is so good. The Holy Ghost is telling you right now, you pay car insurance. You pay house insurance. Why? Because you're insuring, God forbid. Well, God forbid, you may have sinned that you did not know about, or maybe didn't realize, or forgot. This ensures that you're right with God in this season at this time. Okay? It's insurance. So there you go. Thank you, Lord. Now let's move on to the good stuff. So I'm going to share this. We're going to play this video. This is a chef from Long Island. His background is in Italian delis, but he became a chef where he now shares dishes that are pretty well known in the region. And this is a New Jersey classic chicken recipe. And he'll talk about where it actually came from, who created it, how he got it. And then, like I said, I have my own version. So I want to give you his version of it so you can watch how he does it. And then I have my instructions in the description below. So without further ado, let's watch Sip and Feast is the name of the channel. And like I said, I do have the link in the description below for you to watch it. Okay, here we go. Oh.
Savoy. Here are the ingredients. Let's make it right now. Okay, so this recipe comes from the Belmont Tavern in Belleville, New Jersey. It was made by a man named Stretch. He was no longer with us. It's a secret recipe. So there's a few recipes online for it, and they won't give it out. So I think the interpretations are good. I'm doing my interpretation. I'm changing it a bit. The only reason I'm doing this dish is because we've gotten so many requests for it over the years that I'm like, all right, I finally got to make a recipe for this. And I hope you like this one. There are a few people already who took issue with the way I did it. They said I didn't do it 100% right, but how could I do it 100% right if they won't tell people how to do it? So I think you're going to just, like, you could take what you want from here, and I'll explain the difference in a second, what a restaurant would do versus what a home cook would do, which I think is going to work better for you. And I'll explain that when we get to that point. But I have 8 chicken thighs that I salted overnight and about 5 chicken legs. Okay, the recipe, I said do 2 pounds of chicken legs, which will be about 8, but This is all going to be good enough to get into a 14-inch pan. Salting overnight is good because the salt penetrates the chicken and it will taste more flavorful, a little bit more juicy. If you didn't do that, just make sure you dry off your chicken and season it well with salt and pepper before we do our initial sear. After we sear that chicken, we're going to put a paste on it. And that paste is made up of 1 tablespoon of oregano, dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and 1 teaspoon of crushed hot red pepper flakes, 1/4 cup of pecorino romano, and 6 cloves of garlic. We're going to put in about 5 or 6 tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to make a really thick paste. We want the paste to be thick enough, and again, I'll show you after, so that it stays on the chicken without falling off. This paste is absolutely delicious. I think, you know, during the summer, I'm going to just grill up kebabs and use a paste like this for it. It's a really smart idea to do a paste with the, you know, with the pecorino, which is really the cheese of choice for most Italians in the New York, New Jersey area. Parmesan cheese in general didn't really get popular here until about 20 years ago. Mario Batali has a lot to do with that, but for the most part, people here are using pecorino romano for most of their grated cheese needs. So it makes sense that that restaurant that has been making the dish for like 40 years uses that cheese for it. That's part of the magic. Then the other part of the magic is the red wine vinegar. So I have 1 cup of red wine vinegar. I have a 1/2 cup of chicken stock, which is different than a lot of recipes. They normally just use straight red wine vinegar. And then I have a little bit of cold butter to make our sauce at the end, parsley for finishing. I'll go into the difference, what they do in the restaurant versus how I'm making it, but essentially we're making a sauce at the end, and they're not doing that. They're just doing it all in a much quicker way. But I think it's safer to do it the way I'm going to show you. So you can make the paste after you sear your chicken or make it now. We'll just make it now so I can get this cutting board out of the way. So the 6 cloves of garlic, 1 tablespoon dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. So 6 tablespoons of olive oil. Want to get the paste to a very thick consistency so it will not fall off the chicken. But if it's too thick, I'm not going to be able to blend it. You could also do this in a mortar and pestle if you want, but it's simpler just to do it this way. It might need just a touch more oil, just a drop more. So this is a little bit looser than I had it last time because I did use exactly 6 tablespoons of oil. This one's probably 7 or 8. So all you have to do here is if it's too loose, just mix in a little bit more pecorino romano cheese. And that's what I'm going to do. There has actually been a pecorino romano recall. So by the time you see this video, it'll probably be taken care of. It affected a lot of brands, and whoever makes the cheese in Italy sells it to Locatelli, Boar's Head, and about a few other brands. There was like 5 on the list, which I, you know, a lot of people think Locatelli, they always think that like that's the gold standard for it. But yeah, it's this brand that's selling to all of them. And then they put their label on it. And there were a lot of like, they give you the lot numbers and everything. But by the time you see this video, it'll probably be resolved.
Wasn't it just the grated?
Yeah, but it affected the 4 and 8 ounce containers of the ones with the label. Yeah. And it also was the 5 and 10 pound bags that pizzerias buy.
But if you buy a block of it,
no, it didn't. It wasn't with any. It wasn't with any blocks.
Yeah.
Yep. But a lot of people don't buy blocks of it. A lot of people buy the containers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe a touch more. I want it to be very thick. We're going to let that sit off to the side. Okay, so these are already salted overnight. We're going to just put pepper on them now. Okay, we'll do the other side when we put them in the pan. So if you like main course recipes, which I'm sure you do because you're watching this video, I want to let you know about our new cookbook, Sip and Feast Family Favorites. It has plenty of main courses in there. In addition to that, it has all the other sections you would expect to find in a cookbook. It is a beautiful cookbook, 256 pages, over 100 recipes, beautiful photo, nice instructions, good story in every single recipe. It has US customary and metric measurements, so everybody will be able to follow along with these easy recipes. Right above you is the link where you can buy it. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other sellers. QR code if you're watching on TV. which I'm increasingly aware that the majority of you are watching on TV. It's also pinned in the comments and in the description. If you don't like cookbooks, you just like watching our videos, buy it for a friend or family who does. Thanks. So I have my large 14-inch stainless pan that we're going to be able to use this for the oven. And I think I'm going to be able to fit all of the chicken in here in one batch, which is really nice. Now, if you don't have a 14-inch, you have a 12-inch, you'll have to do it in 2 batches. All right, since it's stainless, we're going to let this heat up for about 3 minutes before we put our oil down and our chicken so it doesn't stick. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of neutral oil. You can also use olive oil. Okay, so neutral just means something that doesn't have much smell and that has a good high heat smoke point. So now the skin side up is that dry side, which is the side we want to put down first. We'll let them sear and get crispy. We're going to make them fit, even though this isn't optimal. I'm just not going to do 2 batches for the last 2 legs. All right, so I'm just going to try to pat off the excess moisture on the other side of these. So when I flip them, they'll brown a little bit too. Okay, Tara's looking at me with evil eyes. So I'm going to wash my hands right now.
Better do that.
I want to get Officer
Sal Vanilla.
mad, you know. All right, so I'm going to let these sear for about 5, 6, 7 minutes until they get really brown. While they're going, we'll just put pepper on the other side too. Said I was going to say before how the restaurant does it versus how we're doing it. So I suspect they were starting with like already cooked chicken or close to it, seared in the pan, probably, or roasted in the oven. And then when they get an order, simply they'll just throw it in the pan again, put their paste on, and then they were using super high heat, like the snake broiler that they have, like that's cooked over 550, and a couple minutes, splash it with red wine vinegar, pull it out, serve it to the customer. But we're not doing it that way. We're taking from raw chicken, and since we're using thighs and legs, you really want these to cook to about 185 internal. So we're going to roast at a lower temperature. The pictures I've seen of it from the restaurant, the chicken's almost black on top. Like it's really, and I think they use a whole chicken too, cut up into pieces. So this is like the dish, and I think it keeps the majority of the elements, but it is a little different. All right, so that's how it looks right now. We'll let them go a little bit more. Yeah, most restaurants, like, unless it's like super high end, they really want to get every dish out in 12 minutes or less. A lot of them like want it done in like 8. But if you go to like a real fancy restaurant, they'll let you know. They'll be like, this dish is going to take 40 minutes to prepare for you. There's nothing fancy about this. So this definitely is one of those quick dishes that a restaurant will prepare. Just like when they're doing chicken scarf, they have all the chicken done already. So everything just gets put together in the oven, super hot, put in the platter, served. All right, so they've gone for a while, maybe about 7 minutes. All right, so beautiful, beautiful color. And look, if you heat your pan up properly, everything's gonna pop right off like that without sticking. A stainless steel pan becomes non-stick really when you heat it up right. Now, sometimes on the side, you'll get 1 or 2 that'll stick, but none of these are sticking. All right, they're looking beautiful. We're going to let those cook the other side for about 5 or 6 minutes, too. I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to put a little bit of red wine vinegar now. So the recipe, I just save it all till later, but I'll do this way now. So a little bit of splash in here. I have a bottle, which makes it very easy. It's going to smoke up once it hits there. Ooh, that smells so good. And honestly, if it comes out better this way today, I'm just going to change the print recipe by doing that ahead of time because it really does smell good. Now, if you don't have a 14-inch pan and you have to do multiple batches, you could put everything into a baking dish to do this. But we want to get our paste on top of the chicken. So you could test one piece to make sure like that it kind of stays on, that it's not, most of it's not going to fall off into the sauce. And just do each piece of chicken. Make sure you get some on each piece and then go back over them and top off more per piece. And this could have been a little thicker, the paste. So I have the oven today at 440 degrees. When I wrote the recipe, I did 425 for 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going to do it today at 440 for about 20 minutes, and I'm going to check it Just want to make sure my thighs are at least 185 degrees Fahrenheit internal, the legs too. Dark meat, because it has more connective tissue, is just going to be easier to eat and just a better experience when it's at that temperature. If you did a whole chicken here, you'd want to cook only to about 160, especially for the breasts, because they won't be good at 185. But that's why I use the thighs and legs. I like them. All right, into the oven. Okay, so I did 18 minutes at 450. I actually changed it from 440 to 450. Your oven's going to vary a little bit. I actually think it looks better the way I did it here versus in the print recipe. So I might change the recipe a little bit. It got a little bit more color on here on top. Yeah, the thighs are definitely over 185. I checked a couple legs and thighs. So we're good to go. Honestly, it's delicious like this. It had a little bit of touch of the red wine vinegar. We're going to make a real quick sauce for it. So we're going to use this pan. Make sure you keep towel here to remind other people because it's very hot. All right, I'm just going to place all the chicken in a platter quickly. You can stick this in like a warm oven to keep it going. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just turning my oven off and I'm going to throw this in there. So if you have a lot of fat in the pan, which I do, you could pour some of this out. You don't need all of that fat. Try to leave all the good stuff in there still. Okay, we're going to come back over to the heat and I'm going to turn that to high. Going to add that red wine vinegar. It's a cup. Half a cup of chicken stock. And we're going to let it boil. We're going to let it reduce by half. It's only going to take a couple minutes. Now, if you don't care about all the chicken fat, you could also do this another way. You could just add all that liquid, maybe do it like halfway through, like the last 10 minutes of roasting, add it all into the pan. Everything will still stay relatively crisp on top because it's not that much liquid. And then you can just pull it out and then maybe you go from there. Okay, I'm just getting all these flavor bits into the sauce. Okay, if you have a stronger burner, you'll be able to do this in a matter of a couple minutes. You don't have to be super accurate. If you do want to be accurate, the best way to do it is just to take a toothpick and see where you're at and then go to half of that amount. This sauce like this is really good. Serve this with a loaf of bread to mop up the sauce. All right, that's good. Turn off the heat and just do a couple cubes of butter, cold butter. Go like 1 to 2 tablespoons. I have 2 tablespoons here, but probably just use 1. Some of that parsley in there. You can taste this for seasoning, but you're not going to need anything. Put a little bit of that sauce on top. If you don't want to get like it on top of there, but trust me, you do. You just pour it right into the bowl.
Oh my God.
Right?
Just the smell.
Basically, when I made the recipe, that was like a test run. Now it looks better. All right, this is chicken Savoy. We're going to have the taste tester come down in a second and see what he thinks. I know what I think. I want to eat this right now. Jane?
All right, we don't need to go through the taste tester. That's his son. It's kind of cute that he has his son, come and taste test. It's adorable. If you want to see it, the link is down below, but we're not going to get into that. What we're going to talk about is a couple of things that he did. Now, like I said, I took out chicken. I have chicken in that's defrosting. I took it out in the middle of the night, so it's probably defrosted. Sometimes it's good to take it out the night before. The reason for that is what he said. Now, if you're taking it out of the freezer, it's going to be frozen. You can't put salt on it and stick it in the refrigerator. Like he said, you would have to like buy it from the store and do that. Not all of us have that option. So if you're pulling it out of the freezer the night before, just let it sit in your sink, bagged or something in its bag and everything. And early in the morning, take it out of the packaging, dry it off with some paper towel as best as you can, make it as dry as you can, and then salt that skin and do not cover it. Just stick it in the refrigerator on that plate or pan or whatever you could stick in there. Between the cold in the refrigerator and the salt on the skin, it literally dries up the skin. And you want that because when you go to sear it in the pan, it helps it crisp up much better. And you want that crisping. Trust me, because it changes the flavor of the chicken tremendously. The other thing I want to say is forget the legs. I mean, if you're a leg person, if you love legs, fine. Chicken breast is a pain in this kind of dish. Me, I prefer thigh meat. Why? You get more meat out of it, number one. Number two, the cooking part. When you're braising it in the pan, it's hard to get all the sides of a leg. It's not that difficult to get it on both sides of the thighs. Now, if you notice, and that's always the way to do it, when you first start to braise the chicken, it's always skin down first. The paste that he's talking about, which we're going to talk about in a minute, he waits until he turns it over and then starts to put it on the skin. I put it on both sides. So when it was skinned down initially, I put it on the bottoms of the chicken thighs. After 5 or 6 minutes, I turned it, I turned them around on the other side so the skin was up. And I started to put the paste on the skin part. And the bottom part already had the paste on it and started to cook it with the paste on it. And again, that tasted really good. Now let's talk about the paste. And then I'm going to talk to you about the cooking time. I don't agree with that either. If you could let me know if you can hear me in the chat, that would help a great deal. Just let me know if you can hear me. Give me a 1 if you can, Kathleen, I think your name is. And let me know that you can hear me. Because I just saw the video go under. Can you hear me, yes or no? Please let me know so I could go on with the explanation. Okay, I'm not getting an answer, so I'm not really sure. So I'm just going to keep going and hope that you can hear me. So anyhow, when you are flipping the chicken over, okay, no, I'm just talking about putting it in the oven. Pardon me. When you put it in the oven, you do not need, you can hear me, great. When you're putting it in the oven, you do not need to make it 440, 450. That's ridiculous. You're going to have chicken jerky coming out of the oven. When you've seared it in the pan like that, you've basically cooked the outside of the chicken. When you're putting it in the oven, you want to just cook the inside. So at 400, I have it in my description, or have it in the description. I have my instructions in the description. You'll see it there. At 400 is enough. And 35 minutes is enough, especially if they're chicken thighs. They will cook to a juicy, beautiful completion. Trust me on this. I served it to my husband last week. The guy was licking the plate. Okay, so now let me talk about the paste. This is going to be based on your personal preference. I'm not a big oregano fan. I know I should have my Italianness, taken away from me for that. But I'm just never been one. If it's on pizza and it just happens to be there, I'll eat it. But if I have control of the dish, you won't see oregano on it 9 times out of 10. So what I did was I made a basil, garlic, and salt paste with Romano, just like he did. So everything was pretty much the same, except I exchanged it for basil. And it was, like he said, I wanted to spread it on everything. And so the spread itself, the paste itself is so good. You want to put it on rice. You want to put it on potatoes. You just want to cook it on everything because it's really that good. So you pretty much just take, I don't know, if you've got like 4 or 5 thighs in the pan, for example, I would do like a clove or a clove and a half of garlic. Like I said, I have the directions in the description. I would do maybe a half a cup to a cup of Romano. Let me see what else. About that much, but a half a cup of basil. I think, let me look at the ingredients real quick so we can go over it together. Maybe a smidgen, it's like 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then you just put it in some sort of a processor or some sort of a mixer, or even an emulsion mixer, any kind of mixer that you have that could make it into a paste. You could crush it into a paste. If you happen to have one of those pestle and mortar things, they call them, or you could just do it by hand with a knife. It's totally up to you, but as long as it's smashed into a paste, because you want to spread it on that chicken. It's very important. As far as the juice, now when he takes the chicken out and he removes the chicken from the pan and he uses that stuff that's at the bottom, which I totally agree, that's always the yummiest part, and he mixes in, I think it was a little bit of wine. It was like a red wine, and it was a straight red wine, and with or I think it was balsamic vinegar. No, I think he put vinegar in the pan before he put it in the oven, which is fine. He used red wine vinegar. I used balsamic vinegar for that, and that was good. But in the sauce itself, he used some chicken broth, and then I think he used some wine. Now, for those out there who say, well, I don't drink wine, I don't like alcohol, let me just say this to you. If you go and get yourself cooking wine from the grocery store, it's gone. It's the alcohol is gone. It's out of, that's what makes a cooking wine. It's already been cooked out of it. So all you're getting is the flavor. So you can safely use cooking wine. They've got red, they've got white, they've got sherry. So go at it, okay? Let me see. Vivian asks, do you have a certain olive oil that you use? I always wanted to get a really good one to use with certain dishes. Okay, the the one I use versus the one I prefer are two different things. And the reason why I say that is because of cost efficiency. So let me get you the one that I do use. If you want to know the one I prefer, it's always the most expensive, unfortunately. Usually extra virgin. Let me see. The one that I use is called Pompeian Robust Extra Virgin Olive Oil. It's spelled Pompean. But Bertolli has a great one. Graza has an excellent one, but you're looking at $13 a bottle, which is not that horrible. But it's an extra virgin olive oil. It's really where it's made. Filippo, Filippo, Berio is very good. Berio, also very good. I don't know where you live. If you happen to live, you see the Carapelli Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. This is $18. You know that's good. If you happen to live in areas that, unfortunately, you have to live in the areas that serve Italians or the Spanish or the Greek or anybody that uses olive oil in their food. And so the reason why I say that is because they usually have specialty shops that'll, an Italian food store like Doris's down in Fort Lauderdale and in Boca, and it's in South Florida. I'm hoping and praying for one here. I think one just went up about one town over. I haven't really looked yet. Or of course, New York, New Jersey, and all New England, you don't even have to think about it or blink. Chicago, I'm sure, has it. Philadelphia has these things. And so if you live in an area where you could go to an Italian grocery store or even a Hispanic grocery store, just look. South Carolina, okay. Well, any place that's got tourists always it will kind of bring in different cultures. And I hate to say it, Myrtle Beach being one of them. You might be able to find an Italian grocery store. Or the only other option there is that you have to get it from Amazon. Or you have to order it from an actual Italian grocery that delivers. And I know that Doris does, Doris, in Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. So and listen, I live in Georgia. I totally get it. I absolutely get the frustration of trying to find a good olive oil and even good locatelli. He talks about locatelli like it's nothing. Yeah, he could probably walk down the block and get it, this guy. Whereas with me, I really have to go on the hunt. So, so and that's the other thing. If you can, this goes for Parmesan, this goes for Romano. Try not to get the already grated. Grate it yourself, okay? I know this is, you're going, and you're putting a lot of work on me. It's worth it. We've gotten so used to taking our meals out of a box, out of a bag, out of it's always out of some sort of packaging. And this is why we're all sick. And this is why we're all poor, because it costs a lot to poison ourselves. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, they went into the kitchen and they cooked. They had control of their food. And yeah, maybe it took a little time to make these meals, but you had some control of what you were consuming. And that's what it's all about. Get the block of cheese. Just, it's about the same amount of money anyway. I spent about $6 on a block of Romano or a block of Parmesan. I come home, I grate it, or I stick it in the food processor and I let that grate it for me. It may not be totally fine, but at least it's broken up. And I use it on whatever I need it to be used on. If I need it to be super fine for a specific dish, then I grate it with my own hand, But 9 times out of 10, I shove it into the food processor and just let it go. And it actually works for me. You always grate yours. It melts much better. And I absolutely agree. And I'll tell you why it melts better, because the ones that are already grated have pieces of plastic in it. And so it's better for you to just stay away from already done, lazy day way of doing things, because one way or another, they're poisoning us. And it's just not worth it. This meal here, if you get just thighs, again, I'm pushing the thighs here, and the ingredients itself, you're looking at a pretty cheap dish that you could put on top of anything you want. You could put it on mashed potato, you could put it on pasta, you could put it on rice, or you could serve it with salad and keep it keto. And it's delicious. And let me tell you, it's so delicious, you'll be eating it for days. If there's chicken still left over and you're putting it in the refrigerator, trust me, you will be eating this chicken until it's gone. And if you're really very frugal about your food, you'll save the bones, stick them in the freezer, and then when we go over how to make chicken stock, you will be making chicken stock. And chicken stock, once again, cheap to make, good to have, and very healthy for you. So it's worth having. And again, you got control over what you're feeding yourself and your family. And this is what this show is all about. So this guy here, Sip and Feast, I watch him, yeah, of course, because he's Italian, he's from Long Island. But there's a lot of things that he makes that I remember growing up with. And, sometimes it's just comforting to watch. Sometimes I learn something new, by a little trick that he might do that saves me time. Or he'll give a little bit of advice about a certain type of food, and it does help. So I do encourage you to follow him if you would, just like Jean-Pierre, just like Vincenzo. This is another guy that I would follow. And just check out his channel, just like Jean-Pierre, just like Vincenzo. Look at their recipes, check them out. You may find there's a lot of easy and not expensive, good recipes in there that are good for you and your family. If it's just you and your husband, that kind of thing, still you could make these kinds of dishes. And believe it or not, there's a lot of things you could make that you can freeze. And you can pull out of the freezer when on those nights that you just don't feel like cooking. So we're going to go over a lot more than this. Trust me, there's a lot more to come with recipes. And I plan on sharing that with you. I know that this past week I I think I did a Monday show, and then all of a sudden I didn't come back. But just so you know, while I was laying in bed with the flu, I still was working on Twitter. So there is something to go over. And I'm not sure what day this week that I'm going to do that Twitter show, but we will be doing it. Because there's a lot of stuff on there that's very important for you to see. It doesn't involve money. Yeah, it involves money. Does it involve healthcare? Yes, it involves healthcare. It involves every single aspect of our lives. And it also involves what this administration is doing to wipe out the very people who've been poisoning our food and stealing our money and lying to us through the White House and, screwing us through our education and banking and you just name it, and they have stuck their bony little fingers in and messed it all up for us. And so this administration is working very hard to restore all of that. Just so you know, the Epstein files have totally turned this world upside down. I think there's like 6 different countries right now that are in the midst of arresting high profile people because they've been found, or they're stepping down from their very high position because they've been found inside the Epstein files. Eula Menica. So Managot, my grandmother used to make that. Finally made it yourself? Yes, and it is easy. And that's the whole thing, even making pasta. Once a week I sit in front of my table, and I take 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of bread flour. Everybody here can get that at any grocery store. 4 eggs and a tablespoon of water. Okay, some say to use olive oil. You don't have to do that. I didn't have enough olive oil, so I use water. You mix it up, mix it up, mix it up, and you've got yourself pasta dough. And what I do is I make it into a square. I knead it until I make it into a square. I cut the square into 4s, and each 4th gets wrapped up by parchment paper. And then I stick it in a freezer bag, and I put a sticker on there saying fresh pasta and the date. And I put it in the freezer. Now you go, wow, why do you do all of that? Because on nights, like I said, I don't feel like doing any kind of cooking, and I want to have something fresh. Like, for example, Valentine's Day. I wanted to make this special dish for my husband. So that morning, I had taken out one of the squares, and I had a can of lump crab, which was only $5 and change. And I sauteed the crab in garlic and butter, salt and pepper. And then I took a rolling pin with a little bit of flour, and I rolled out as thin as I could what do you call? And I'll show you how to do it. I'll find somebody. I think we did do a pasta show, as a matter of fact, a few shows ago. And you just roll it out, and then you kind of make it into a cylinder. You roll it, and then you slice them into slices, and then pull them and make them into like a fettuccine. And that's what I did. I just rolled it flat, and then I rolled it out flat, okay? And then I folded it, okay? I folded the rolled out dough. So if you could try to imagine what I'm saying. When it was folded on top of each other, I took a knife and I kept slicing about maybe 1/8 of an inch, going down the line, just down the line. And then when I was done with it, I pulled it so that each fettuccine were to come out, and I would lay it on top of an already floured surface, and I'd make sure there was plenty of flour under it and on top of it. And I let it sit out and dry for a couple of hours. And then right before dinner, and I'll tell you what, it takes about maybe 4 or 5 minutes to boil. It's not like what you get out of the box. It takes 9 to 11 minutes. As soon as I got done sauteing that crab meat, I drained the water I took a little bit of pasta water and I put it inside the crab meat mixture that I made just to make it creamy with some butter like he did at the end. And that makes like a creamy sauce. And I drained out the pasta. I put the pasta in the pot and I put it on the countertop and I poured the crab meat and butter on top of the pasta, mixed it, put it in each dish, and then I sprinkled on top of it some Parmesan and some fresh parsley. And it was amazing. It was absolutely delicious and it was worth it. And it was all, except for the canned crab, homemade. I can't make crab. I'm not God. But you know what I mean? It was a nice seafood dish. And what did that cost me? Not even $10. You know what I mean? And it was like something that you would get at a restaurant that you would spend $40, $50 a person. That's crazy talk. So, and at least you know what's in the damn dish. Sometimes you go to a restaurant, you don't know what the hell is in your dish, you know? I see things on YouTube that they're like horror stories. So this is getting control. And I don't want to scare you from ordering out or ever going out to a restaurant. Just, pray over your food because you never know. But I do want you to have some sort of control out of, what you're spending and, what you're feeding your family and what you're eating. And I'll tell you, the more and more control you get, and it's not just about even the control, the better you feel about what you're buying at the store, the more control you have over your money and what you're spending at the grocery store. And it even becomes fun. I have a lot of fun when I do different dishes with my husband, and we'll make it into something we do together. And it becomes quality time with each other to make a dish together. And so there's so many ways that doing things like this becomes a family event, and we need more of that in this world. So it's not just about eating and food, which are great things, but it's about all of it that comes with it. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So, yes, I will be back sometime this week. I'm going to take a day or two and rest and try to get rid of this flu altogether. And then I'm going to do a Twitter show. So look for it, please. I'm going to do a Twitter show where we're going to go over what's on my feed. And I'm just going to show you how the world is changing. And like I said, I don't think the mainstream media, local or cable, or even what we're basically watching on, platforms is giving us the full story. And so I want you to get the full story. And I think it's going to encourage you. I really do. It is therapeutic, Vivian. It is very therapeutic. Sometimes when I'm all by myself, I'll just make pasta dough and shove it in the freezer, or I'll make pizza dough. I'll make puff pastry, and just for S's and G's, I just make it and throw it and date it and tag it and everything and put it in the freezer, just feeling productive, and knowing that at any given moment, if I need to make something, I just pull it out of the freezer. And there's a lot of things you could do with puff pastry. We'll go over that too. Maybe I'll even find something that shows you how to make puff pastry. So I make that all the time, and it's very easy to do. And there's multiple ways of doing it. I do it the old-fashioned way, which is time-consuming, but I think I'm going to change up my way of doing it as well. So I will find a more time-efficient way of making puff pastry. It's all about getting the butter inside the dough. That's really all it is. So anyway, without having to keep you any longer, thank you guys for joining me. I had put up a video a few days ago giving you the usernames of both pages of my Twitter. So if you haven't seen that, go look for it in my shorts, the short videos, not in my shorts, but in the short videos. And you will see where there's my Twitter handles, usernames. Please go look them up. If you're on Twitter, go look and see for yourself what's going on. It is constant. And then you'll be up to date when we go to do the show in a few days. And then I will have I think I'm going to get you the puff pastry recipe. I'm going to see if I can find that real quick and have that ready for you. And then we'll go over another dish that includes puff pastry. But until I see you guys again, we also have to talk about the Robbie Harvey show that he covered last week out of the blue about Johnny Jacobs. I watched a little bit of it. I really couldn't do the whole thing. I'm not really even sure why he did it. I have to agree on a few things that he said, which he believes that Johnny Jacobs never saw Micah. I got to kind of agree with that. Why do I agree with that? Because I don't think it was ever meant for him to see Micah. I think that he had a job to do, and that job was go get her purse and bring it to whomever. And that's what he did. And not knowing why he was doing it and what he was doing it for until the aftermath. And I think it freaked him out. I think he got paid well, but I think that's why he was trying to bury the money, because he couldn't live with what he was part of. I pray and hope to Jesus that he spoke to the feds before his life was taken. That's all I have to say about that. Anyhow, thank you for joining me. You guys are awesome. Don't forget the recipe in the description, and please follow Sip and Feast. Until I see you guys again, please stay safe, stay in prayer. Psalm 91, Lord's Prayer. Stay safe, and God bless.